December 2017 actually. We had 21,000 players online at the same time. So that was pretty cool. It was like a pretty serious game. That was like the biggest time. Acquisition, I can't really, and I don't really want to share the exact numbers, but it was nicely up there, definitely. Very, very all cash. But there's definitely like I didn't have any equity or something, but it's complex. Like they didn't just give cash up front. It kind of was like a more complex deal than that. But it was good. It was many years worth of the game's revenue, so it was like a solid sale, and yeah.
How stressful for you was this negotiation about this amount? It's a little bit elaborate this part of.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can say one number. I can say it was over $1 million. Okay, it was a lot of money, and it was everything I had back then. So I was very careful. I checked this guy. It was Bill Karamuzis, the CEO of Addicting Games. He was the guy talking, and they tried to give me all sorts of weird offers. They were like, "We'll give you some cash, but then we're gonna give you like a percentage of the money the game makes for 3 years, and you still have to work for us." And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like, either you buy it or like I don't want to sell it, right? And yeah, and I walked away from some very big deals, some deals that I've never seen before. Imagine saying no to like over $1 million, you know, to get the final offer. It was definitely stressful, and I'd say even more stressful than the negotiation, because I guess I'm pretty good at negotiating generally. It's more the trust. This person's in LA, in another country during COVID. It's all over the internet, right? So I wanted to make sure I actually get some money and I don't just lose my game and my website. So we used, I don't think we even have a confidentiality clause for this. Well, whatever, we used an escrow site where basically it's a third party, it's a big company, and they would collect money, and then I would give them like the code and then to the site and everything. And then basically they would only get the site in their own control once the company approves like the whole deal. So there was a contract. I only hired a lawyer for a few hours, saved money on lawyers, so don't spend a lot on expensive lawyers for this kind of deal. You don't need to. This is before ChatGPT too. So yeah, so it's stressful. It's more stressful because you have to, I actually sat there and I was talking with friends and I'm convincing myself why I should walk away from the deal all the time. Because if you can't say no, you can't negotiate, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and the guy's like, this is the most we can offer. They'll always like random, I guess BS. They'll be like, oh, our investors will only allow up to this amount, and that's it. It's not in my control. And I have to be like, well, I'm sorry. Like, just need a little bit more. And then the next day he's like, all right, you know what? We can do it. So yeah, people lie a lot. That's how it works. They tell you they can't do more. The next day they can do more somehow. But that's normal. Everybody does this.
Yeah, sure. Could you please more detail show us to your emotion after this deal and what did you do after that year, months? Because it's very interesting part where not every person have the same deals. It's interesting what you feel and how it's happened.
Yeah. Well, okay, on one hand, the deal was good because the money's up front and the game was slowly kind of losing players. Like, it would still be worth a lot. But don't get me wrong, like the game was making a lot of money with very little expenses, right? So if the deal wasn't good enough, I wouldn't have taken it. I was in a position where it's not like I'm making nothing and some companies like will buy you for a lot. It's more like I'm already getting money and then just like we'll give you a big lump sum instead of collecting this over years, right? Yeah. And sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Yeah, but Michael, your style of life don't change after this.
Oh, no, not at all. The one thing that was good, so the money didn't come right away. There's like separate payments, there's some more complexity in the deal. But I did definitely get some up front. And one thing that was good was stocks started going well during COVID, right? This was like so stocks were like, they first crashed really hard and then they recovered. And then they started going extra high. So I was lucky, I could buy some stocks almost at the bottom. So I got some Tesla at around $100 equivalent today, maybe even less, some of it, but obviously not all the money. I bought Bitcoin at 14K, 20K. So it was like, I wish I could put everything at that price, but yeah, so that helped. I definitely started spending a little bit more money on like some restaurant, travel, but it didn't too much because the game was already making pretty significant money. Yeah.
You bought Lamborghini Urus, yeah?
So yeah, that was in 2 years after the sale. So yeah, so it did really well at one point. I was too greedy, I didn't sell, right? But at one point my portfolio was really high and I just said, you know what, I'm young, I need to get a supercar. So my friends and I were nice cars. We rented a Lambo Huracan to try it out. We rented an Urus with like a body kit. We rented a Rolls Royce. We rented a red Ferrari. And in the end, I was like, I really like the Urus. Like I thought it would be the same as like a low Lambo, but with the comfort of like a внедорожник SUV, right? But it turned out to kind of be just a внедорожник. It wasn't as cool as a normal Lambo, and it was more expensive. So it was cool.
But Urus, it's an SUV, yeah?
Yeah, it's an SUV. It's fast. It's very nice. But I got a black one. You couldn't always tell it's an Urus. It kind of looked like a Porsche SUV, or just like some people thought it looked like a Tesla Model Y, which I was like, what? What's the point of paying so much for a Tesla Model Y? You know, like a 70K car. Sorry, how much it costs?
Yeah.
So the options add a lot to the price. The base price is probably in Canadian dollars, and this is before luxury tax. I got the year before luxury tax came in. It's around 300K, but if you add tax, you add the options, it's gonna be closer to 400. So it's definitely expensive.
Because you want to feel like something in your life, or why you want this car? Yeah.
I guess like I grew up humble, so I didn't really know what to do with like having more money. I rented my place. I didn't want to buy a place because I thought real estate was overpriced, and it did crash actually. Like condos crashed after that year. So I just was like, okay, I'm young. What do I do with some extra I have? And I'm like, a supercar would be like the only thing I could think of. You know, I already traveled. I rented some boats for fun. Like, what's the point of money if there's nothing to buy? Like, if you live the same way, you know.
Okay, yeah, understand. But you start your new company, Tatarnykov Games, just after closing the deal with Mobile, or after some years. Could you please explain this?
Yeah, so I'd say, like I said, I took a couple of years to just take it easier. I was learning 3D games, game engines, because when I made Mope, I actually didn't know much about making games properly. I just figured it out somehow, just by spending so many hours and trying really hard. Mope was written completely from scratch. Like there was no game engine, like Unity or whatever. Because the game was so simple, you could do it. It was just kind of like shapes, and then there's a bunch of logic for the multiplayer stuff. But once you get that working, the game's very simple. So I just like up on all the game stuff I didn't really know back then, funny enough. Yeah. See, that just shows you that sometimes knowing too much actually hurts, because then you overlook these like opportunities like Agar.io, which is just circles moving around. You don't need to know how to make games too much for that. So 2 years after, yeah.
Yeah. About today's situation, could you please a little bit more explain what right now, Tatarnykov Games right now, what is it? What strategy for future?
Yeah, I can summarize the time until now. I'll start with that. So once Tatarnykov Games started, I had one employee, like one full-time developer with Mope who helped me. He was remote, and then there were a few artists that kind of helped, almost like freelance. But this was like my first time hiring and actually working with local Canadian people, right? So in late 2022, I started hiring people, finally after like 6 months of like putting up ads, not liking the candidates, procrastination, kind of not knowing what to do, being afraid to hire the wrong person. I hired, the first hire was a producer, and he really helped, almost like an assistant. He would help like put up ads, do interviews, but I didn't really know how to filter candidates very well. So I didn't necessarily, and also the project was a little bit unusual. So it was a little bit hard to find super good people. I did the best I could, and the people were pretty good. Yeah, and then we made a game called Skill Fight, which was like a browser version almost of RuneScape. It's a really popular game from when I was a kid. But I didn't do enough market research and didn't realize this kind of game wasn't going to be profitable. It's too hard to make and it's not going to be appealing enough. So that game, after we spent like a year to get the first version out, and then and then after another 6 months, changing it completely to be even more like RuneScape, like a proper MMORPG. And then we realized pretty fast that it's not going to make money. But we definitely waited too long on that. So I think about a year and a half. It took us almost 2 years actually total of trying to like make Skill Fight work before we said, okay, this isn't going to work. We switched to Unity, which is like the biggest game making software especially for indie studios. We would be considered an indie studio. It means like not a huge studio. We're independent. Yeah, so over time we switched some of the team. I hired some people that are more experienced with mobile games, and I realized all the money is in mobile games, especially for the kind of games I want to make. I want to make usually more simple games, like simple, almost like for kids games. I think I'm naturally. It's hard for me to do like really complex ones.
Yeah, one more question about the Skill Fight game.
Yep.
It was fail, yeah. But what do you recommend if someone want to start create a game? What do you recommend for these people about not fail like this? Maybe.
Yeah, first of all, do a lot of research. Don't just make your favorite game, because it's usually just because you like a game doesn't mean it's worth making now. Like maybe it was worth making 5 years ago. Maybe it's going to be worth making in the future, but you have to look at the market. You have to find that games similar to what you're trying to make are doing well and are being made by people with your team size. So if there's a huge company with 100 people making the game you want to make and nobody with a few people, it's probably not going to be easy. It's not going to be realistic, right? And if you see 3 games like yours were already released in a year and they all failed, probably shouldn't do that, you know? Or at least learn from them and see what you could do differently. So I think it's really important, and everyone's lazy with this, and I was too. But you want to like research the market, make sure you know how much these companies and games are making. You want to make sure that the teams that made these games are similar to your team, and you can compete with them. So you need to know, like, okay, if you're one person, you probably shouldn't make mobile games at all right now, honestly. Versus if you have like a small group, okay, you can do something like a mobile game, it's harder. If you're one person, you should do Roblox, in my opinion, or maybe VR. So there's like certain industries where it's easier by yourself, but mobile is a tougher market. It's kind of higher risk, high reward. So either you make a lot of money and you spend a lot of money and it's a big risk, or you just can't succeed essentially. There's just 2 ways to do it.
Yeah. And next block of questions, it's a bunch of questions. It's about your new product. What to do with this product? What do you want to share with this?
Sure. So after a lot of research on mobile games, I found some, I guess, opportunities, some new games that are doing well recently. Some are done by smaller teams. Honestly, we're a little bit ambitious with this one. Our team is much smaller. At a peak size, I think we had 8 or 9 people. It changes based on based on contractors, artists. But the other teams are, I think, 12 to 20 people for the smallest competitor games like this. So it's possible. It's going to be hard, but you can see like games, the team size matches for games that are doing well, and then games. So basically, we're basing our new game on an existing game genre that's really doing well right now. There's lots of games making good money, so that's a much better thing to do. And we did proper research. So the plan with this product is, in general, is obviously we've spent 6 months developing a mobile game. It's going to be called Rumble Let's Go. It's based on like a few popular kind of concepts that are doing well. There's going to be pets. There's going to be some elemental, almost like a little bit of like Pokemon style battling elements. And then there's going to be this whole like casino, like idle game kind of mechanic where you just keep clicking a button. It's very simple. Everyone can play it. And the monetization system is just generic. It's like any other popular game. So we're really pushing that art and the kind of like unique mix of like pets plus this popular game genre. We're releasing it soon, very soon, maybe even next week. And the plan is to kind of release it, get some initial players, get some feedback, kind of see what people say. So we're not really trying to make money yet, because in mobile games, it's really, really, right? If one game, let's say, are competing very optimized, very polished, they make $5 from every player that downloads over like a few months, and we make $4, let's say. Even though we're pretty good, we're gonna lose because they can pay $4 per download, and we can't. We can pay $3, right? So we get no downloads. So it's super competitive. So our goal would be to just slowly increase how much we make per player until we can compete, and then dump money in the advertising. Yeah.
But if I right understand, you plan not just focusing on this game, but maybe release new game or different, or it's your studio focusing just for one game, and like it's a step-by-step strategy or this parallel strategy.
Yeah, so in games right now, usually you want one game that's going to do well, and that'll make your whole company a success. So the goal is to find the one game that's going to be a huge hit. There's really no hits in mobile anymore. So either you're making really, really good money, or you're just not profitable. So our goal is to take this game, kind of see what we can do, make it a little bit more fun, get feedback. But this game forever, at least in my opinion, 6 months. Because we were building all these systems for the first time. And now if this game doesn't succeed, we can always just slightly change it, and all the other systems are already built. So it's almost like building tools and assets that we could just later copy paste, boom, make a new game in a month, you know? So our plan is to just keep trying making new games until we get a hit.
Cool. We need this material after release of this game. Yeah, it would be interesting because
Sure.
Yeah, because we could put the link, all this. We prepare the materials, but we publish the day of release. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
It's more interesting for you because it's potential.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Sure. Just keep in mind, like we're releasing on Android first, and only in one country, and I think we're gonna do Canada. As like a test case, and then it's kind of gonna these results. We're gonna expand to more and more countries. So it doesn't too much when you release this, but yeah, it's good to at least a week or two.
Yeah, but we could add some screenshots, for example.
Yeah. We have marketing material already. We could already have it now even.
It could be more interesting for our audience. And questions about AI. What do you think about impact of AI for game industry or for your studio? It's for hiring people. What in this industry changing something or what?
Yeah, so recently, I make sure everyone on my team is using AI as much as possible. It's super important for a smaller team to compete. We're really impressed with the new ChatGPT image system. It's really nice. We've actually used it to generate. We've actually used it to generate UI UX designs. So we'll take a screenshot of our game and we'll say, okay, make this better, and it generates a nicer looking UI, and then we just implement that. So that's one thing I really liked. It's getting pretty good with icons. We did some promo screenshots partly with ChatGPT. So we'll take generate it. We'll give it context, like screenshots of our characters, our art. It does a pretty good job, and then you have to talk to it a few times, but then we just use Photoshop to touch it up. Yeah, but and coding, we use ChatGPT, Copilot, all the basic tools. I think it's super important. I think it's gonna very quickly become extremely good, and everyone needs to be ready for when that moment comes.
But it's it's white code, or it's a combination white coding with real coding.
It's mostly real coding because games are complex. There's so many different systems, and it's not all code. We're using Unity, so there's a lot of graphical UI clicking, setting things up visually. So AI doesn't really do that well yet, but it will one day. So we're kind of just want to make sure we're ready. But it's getting there. Right now, it's almost like a tool where our programmers obviously do most of the work themselves, but then if you're creating a new feature or a new thing, you just tell the AI, okay, I'm making this. it gives you like a template, and then you quickly can just fill everything in. It just doubles everyone's coding speed, but it doesn't do all the work for you right now.
Yeah. And one more question about AI. AI changing game rules or game mechanics, or it's changing just graphics and faster production.
It's definitely speeding up production. We can ask, like, for example, I took over the game design after our designer didn't quite work out, our last senior designer. And I'm a game designer, but I asked ChatGPT. I'm like, what would a senior game designer do? So I managed to do a lot of stuff I couldn't normally do. So now we don't have to hire an extra expert. We might just hire someone for a short consultation and be like, just look over this. Is this good? They do a little bit of work instead of paying someone for months to just set all this stuff up. So it's replacing, it's someone who's really expensive. That was kind of like a consultant that didn't do much except just know information. It's about actually implementing stuff now that's more valuable. It's definitely speeding up everything. Yeah, art is gonna really be affected. There's 3D model generating AI now. I think it's gonna really help small studios because we'll be able to make games much faster than big studios and just much in big volume. You know?
But you think AI it's a benefit for small studios, not for big? Yeah.
Much better. It's much bigger for small studios because normally the big problem in a small studio is we don't have experts, right? So like in a big studio, there's a expert, there's a music expert, there's a logo expert, there's a UI expert, right? So they have the best. So everything in their game is 10 out of 10. The UI design is 10 out of 10. It's perfect. You know, it's amazing. Versus a small studio, maybe there's a good programmer, but he doesn't know UI. The UI is 5 out of 10. You know. Yeah. And then so now with ChatGPT, we can fill in a lot of this lack of knowledge. We can not in everything, but I think it's really helping. We could even like ask, what do we not know? What should we do? Who should we hire? So it's helping us compete with normally this big team of experts with a much smaller group. So that's, I think, the biggest impact. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Explain please a little bit more about the game market in general, mobile game market. How huge is it? What happened on this market? How it's little bit structured? Because it's for me, for example, it's a totally different sphere that's mine. Maybe we need to add some information about this market for our audience too.
Yeah, so games are huge. Games make more money than movies and music combined. Most people don't know that. Yeah. And the biggest in games is mobile games. I should say are mobile games. Yeah, so mobile games are the biggest moneymaker. Most people don't know that either. It's because anyone like you and I, let's say we don't play Call of Duty or console games, anyone can pick up Candy Crush or anyone can pick up Monopoly Go and just click around. So the biggest of that market would be casual games that anyone can play. Even like our parents could play, you know, our grandma could play, these like super simple games, right? And grandmas spend a lot of money, for example. They don't understand, you know, we're young and we're techie, we understand like, oh, it's just a game, you know, but then the grandma's like, I want to finish this level, I need to spend $10. So it's true, the money's from these grandmas. The young kids don't care, you know, they can hack the game or something, the grandmas can't, and they really care. So the problem, but this is because there's so much money in this market, all the big companies with big teams are really like trying to squeeze everyone out. So they're making the games really well designed, and they use, with their big resources, they have data-oriented decisions. Data, I should say, which means they have 10,000 grandmas all play the game. Half the grandmas see a green button, half the grandmas see an orange button, you know? And then the orange button's a little bit more clicks. So they're like, okay, we're gonna put the orange button for everyone. And they just do this over and over, and their game is so good. It's like really good. And a small studio comes in and they just guess. They're like, we think the green button's better, and then it just isn't. It still works, but we just don't make as much money, right? So they have all this data, and it's just from size, from money, experts, everything. So it's really hard for a small studio to break into this market. That's why we're trying a somewhat more niche thing. A niche meaning like, yeah, somewhere where the big companies go, it only makes like 10 million, we don't even want to go in here, you know? Big companies are spoiled. They want the $1 billion, $100 million hits. Yeah, so it's a very interesting market. There's a lot of money, but it's very, very competitive. And at this point, if you don't have a small team, if you're just one developer, you probably shouldn't even make a mobile game. Yeah, back in the day, here's the biggest problem. App stores used to give you free traffic. So let's say Volvo, let's say you would really like your crush and you want to make your own Candy Crush, but with, I don't know, with vegetables or something, right? Okay, you pay it, you code it yourself, you put it out, and maybe you get 100K downloads just because people like it. Now that doesn't happen anymore. So now the app stores are greedy. So they'll say, oh, why would we give Vova downloads when his game makes $1 per person, when Candy Crush makes $5 per person? We'll just give all those downloads to Candy Crush. So the stores make you basically pay for ads just to get users, and the big companies, because their game, like I said, they do all this A/B testing. Their game makes a little bit more money than everyone else, and they steal all the free traffic. So there's just no free traffic anymore, with some exceptions occasionally. Yeah, so basically, if you can't, like, if a guy just sitting there trying to do some A/B testing or doing marketing or research, and you're just a developer, you just don't have enough like time to do it, and you just can't win. Yeah, so it's not just about making games, it's about a whole business of like marketing, monetization, user acquisition. There's just so many things. It's tough. Yeah. But this is for mobile. For Steam, there's still some chance if you want to be like an indie developer, 1 or 2 people could still make a game. There's some markets that work. Web used to be like a good market. Now it's not.
Okay, about marketing, I think that's enough. Questions. Katya, maybe we need to ask something more, right? Or it's enough for how do you think?
I would like to find out more about the game. Who would you picture to be a target audience, and who would be interested in playing the game?
Okay, so we looked at a few big popular games, like I mentioned earlier, to figure out what kind of game to make, right? But as I mentioned, we need a new niche, so we can't just compete with this big game. So our target audience, funny enough, our game looks like it's made for kids somewhat. It has like cute pets, it's like pretty colorful art, very simple designs. But our target audience would be guys aged 18 to 35, funny enough. And that's based on like what kind of players play our competitors' games. So we did some research on that. But we think we might be able to target some girls. So 2/3 of the target would be guys, but maybe we'll get 50-50 because girls love these pets. Like just from showing the game to like women, girls, they seem to love the cute creatures. Pet collecting games aren't doing that well recently, but maybe if we combine it with this new like kind of like casino style game where you just keep clicking a button, there's sounds, you win stuff, it's random. There's like jackpots with all these rewards. It could hit a niche market. That's what we're trying to do. So it's a game of pets, but with like a random, very simple gameplay loop where you just keep clicking a button, and occasionally there's a couple of choices like, do you want to risk it and double your health, or do you want to just be safe and things like that. And then you just watch your pets fight. It's relatively simple. Hard to make, but simple for the user.
It's always like this.
Like, is there anything you want to share? Like, is there anything you want people to know about your company, maybe about yourself?
I could just put out a message saying like, if someone really is an entrepreneurial kind of builder-minded person that wants to put in a lot of work into potentially getting their own hit, but then realizes that you need a team, to come reach out to us because we're looking for people like that, and we'll make it worth their while. But our goal is we want our game to feel like it's part of their own project almost. You're not coming hourly and just get a salary and forget about everything when you leave. We're looking for people that are almost a bit entrepreneurial. And we could potentially in the future look at things like profit sharing and equity. But either way, like being part of a team where you have a hit project, even if you want to work a job, is the best thing you can do. You get any job if you say, oh, I worked on Rumblitz Go and then this game has millions of downloads. It's like, boom, any job you want. So it's a great way to get into the career field, gaming industry.
A few questions about Ukraine. You moved to Canada because it's UATech. It's good for us to add something about Ukraine. You moved to Canada when you was young, 6 years or something.
Yeah, I was born in Kiev, and I came here when my parents came here at age 5. So
Okay. Yeah, and now you have some connection with Ukraine, or maybe some team where you work with Ukraine or something.
Two of my developers are Ukrainians, so
Yeah.
Ukrainians are very good developers. They're hardworking, talented. If you pick the right ones, of course, there's different people in it. And I found the Ukrainians, just because I'm Ukrainian, I can speak Russian or Ukrainian with them. It's like a better connection, and they seem to be a little bit more. Definitely more affordable if you're hiring someone overseas, which small teams like mine need to worry about. We can't pay the same as a big studio, obviously, but we have this like way more fun workplace and the chance of your name going out there as part of this game versus in a big company, no one knows who you are. If you worked on a big game, it's like so did 1,000 people.
Yeah. It's enough about Ukrainian topic. But if you want, that's something we can add.
Yeah, I can also say, I mean, there's a lot of Ukrainians in Toronto. Lots of If you go to game meetups, there's a lot of Ukrainians, great people. There's a few small studios here, small and medium studios run by Ukrainians.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great community. But yeah, in terms of games, I just think there's lots of talent in Ukraine, and right now it's a time people could really help people in Ukraine and look to hire from there.
Yeah, that's